Hey, how's it going, guys? Was I right? How many 8 things did you miss about the Starfield Direct videos have you seen so far? Quite a few, and I'm sure plenty more are on the way. Not knocking them. I'm happy everybody is super excited for Starfield. I am too. But I wanted to go a completely different direction. I'm talking to the mod author of Frost and also one of the team members on it. And if you haven't heard of it, it's a survival mod, complete overhaul for Fallout 4. I'm really excited to play it this Sunday. It'll be my first time. Surprising, I know. But that got me thinking about survival mode in general for Bethesda games. The other big popular one is Requiem for Skyrim, which I've played quite a lot, and I love that. It's the only mod that I've ever played that has truly changed the whole feel of Skyrim, and it made me feel that's how Skyrim should be played. And when I started noticing the combat in Starfield, I said, there's the Bethesda gameplay. Really easy takedowns of enemies. Not only that, now you have a jetpack, and you can go at different directions, shoot, drop mines, and just blow bodies away. And that's fun for a game. I mean, I love doing a playthrough like that where I'm just Super Saiyan it all over the place and just being a badass. Sure. But for me, a Bethesda game really flourishes when you get a good survival modification to it, where suddenly things matter. Things make sense. Like food never made sense for me in Skyrim until Requiem, because now without food, you're not having stamina regen. Without stamina regen, well, you're going to swing a dagger 2 times and then get beat down by a mage and his staff. So it makes you play the game, I know this is subjective, but in my opinion, the right way. So that's what I want to get into. What survival elements from other games would I think fit perfectly in this upcoming Starfield? Okay, let's start off simple. I already said it, right? We got our food, drink, and sleep. For some reason, Bethesda likes to just crank that up, so you need 6,000 calories a day, your beauty rest, and if you don't get it, you're, going to die by a mud crab. Now, the problem with that is they're just taking a realistic trait and make it unrealistic about how much you need it and how it's supposed to be for survival. I get the idea. Not my favorite way to go for survival. Some of the best games I've played that are survival mode don't even really mess with food or water. And there is some that do it, and I think do it well. So let's talk about that. I don't know if you've played Kenshi, but Kenshi is a survival post-apocalyptic type futuristic punk, just keep throwing the descriptors on. But it has a lot of great survival elements. And as far as food and drink go, they actually just keep food. And it's not really that necessary. You just have to get enough to survive. They even give you a slider so you can turn it down, and maybe you need to eat once every 2 days. But it starts to make more sense as you go on and you have longer distances to travel. Now you may think about food a little more, just enough to give you that illusion of realism. That's mainly what I'm talking about here, is the illusion of realism. We don't want pure realism in games. I know there's a niche. I mean, old games, SWAT, Arma. There's a bunch out there where people want to just 100% keep the realism. But I think for a majority of us, when we think survival, we want something that makes us think about things, give us that connection to reality, but we still get to live the fantasy. Also in Kenshi, you don't have to sleep. No sleep. Your guy is up on Ritalin, and he just never has to sleep. But if you get injured, sleeping is how you fix that. And you also have something called blood loss, which even if you get healed up, your blood loss is low and you need rest. Then you can gain back your blood. And if you lose your blood, you die. So they make it useful and a survival element, but it's not hounding your every move. And that's what I really appreciate about that concept, because I don't think any of us really care to sleep. If we want to role play that way, sure, there's beds everywhere. Make it happen. But it doesn't need to define your life. Like, you can curl up next to a tree if you had to. Especially in the future, I don't think sleep needs to be the way we go about making a survival game. Another good game is Outward Bound. It's another RPG. where they handle sleep and food similar, except you're traveling and you keep all your gear on you. So you can have your tent that you can use to sleep in, cook pot, stuff to make fire, stuff for your alchemy set, but they all have heavy weight. So you kind of get in this position where you got to bring just enough that you're going to make when you're out there, or you're going to bring enough supplies that you don't have to make anything out there. And you have to really delegate your weight in this manner. It can be a little annoying, but there is a good balance there that does add to the dynamic gameplay. So I wanted to bring that up. So my short of how I want water, food, and sleep handled, I don't want it to be a mini game. If it has a purpose where you need to eat food and it will give you a stamina boost, but if you don't eat food, you don't get a stamina boost and you're going to get worn down quicker. So it encourages you to have food, right? Certain effects that may be beneficial that you can get from these things that really make a difference. These are things that make you live that fantasy, but also get real benefits from going through the trouble of cooking and finding these different recipes. Because otherwise, you're just going to eat the same sandwich if it's easy to make. Because that's not the whole point of a fantasy game, right? It's not Sandwich Maker 2.0. So this brings me into the next one, crafting, mining, fuel, and supplies. All the other things that take up storage space. Now, I love crafting. I love armor smithing. I love finding stuff to make other stuff, to make more powerful stuff. Some ways games handle this are different. I already said Outward Bound. They have it so you can pick up all these supplies, wood pieces, and all this, but you're going to run out of space real quick. So it kind of forces you to make a decision of what you actually need to pick up, what is more valuable, what you can get easier anyway, or what is purchasable. Kenshi basically takes two materials. You got your iron and you got your copper. And these run you through the whole length of the game. And you use it as, at the very beginning, as your main source of income. I mean, yes, you can do other ways of making income, but it's a really easy, steady source of income. And I kind of like that idea for Starfield. You know, maybe for a survival element, fuel is kind of expensive. And a good way to make that money is to set up a mining outpost, to hire some miners to slowly start getting a system going where they're sending mines to sales, and bingo, you're making a steady income enough to support your fuel habit. Now, I don't want to take away how hard this balance is, because you can look at any number of games. I'll use No Man's Sky. I've used that reference quite a lot. When it first came out, when you got materials to build something, you basically had to turn right around to get more materials to maintain it. So it became this kind of constant deficient loop where the whole game just turned into a mini game of resource gathering. And I don't want that. That is absolutely correct when Todd says, you know, you're running out of fuel, it slows down the game. Now, I don't think running out of fuel slows down the game, but I think if you make it so consistently annoying to gather fuel or gather the credits to get fuel, well, that can really take away from the game. So once again, it's this realism to faux realism, this balance that I have seen in such few games opposed to how many times it's implemented. Now, with it being a space game, we also have this unique position of environmental resource gathering that kind of go hand in hand. Once again, No Man's Sky is an easy reference point. They did it too much, right? You have a shield for toxicity, you have a shield for radiation, you have a shield for heat, you have a shield for cold. You don't need all that. The idea is sound, right? Maybe environmental protection, 1 level, 2 level, 3 level. You just have encompassing projection for all this, and you just change the extremes of what that suit can handle, and you create those resources as being more valuable. And you already have the mining gun, so maybe you can harness those materials on the fly to continue your survival without it being too much of a pain to go back, find a crafting thing to make a new energy cell for your environmental shields, as an example. So water, food, sleep, crafting, mining, fuel, these are all the basic ones that most games tend to play with. Varying degrees of success. But what I find is really the most thrilling aspect of survival games is what I'm just going to call life after death. Okay, now I know this sounds like a spiritual tangent, but Here, I'll make it very clear. A very popular game, I think most of us know, and that's the Shadow of Mordor. When you die, you don't die. Person who, quote unquote, kills you becomes stronger. He may even lead his own troop now, and he has special abilities. And you wake up and you have to deal with the outcome. Not only that, time has passed. So now you have to deal with new threats. This was a great system. It's called the Nemesis system. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers frickin' owns it. So that's why this aspect of gaming has been really stunted. There is a mod for Skyrim that does this to a degree, but they also are very wary of getting too close to the Warner Brothers Nemesis system because of obvious risk of lawsuits. So there's ways around that, and I wanted to bring up other games that have life after death. So I'll go back to Kenshi. Kenshi, you get knocked out. This is actually part of the game because that's how you build toughness. So when you get knocked out, there's various things that can happen. You can bleed out and die. Sure, if you have friends, you can keep them inside, and when you get knocked out and the people rob you and walk away, you can have your friend come pick up your body and put you in bed, right? You can also lose your limbs. So now you're short an arm. You can't wield two-handed weapons. Well, that's kind of a problem, but there is robotics. Now, the robotics at first that you can get for being an amputee are garbage. So they're just going to harm you one way or the other. So you try to avoid getting hurt that bad or not having a way of healing your guy as they go down. So this adds to that fear factor. Yeah, you may get beat up, but there's life beyond this death, quote unquote. And as you get better with gear, you get arms that are actually more powerful than your original. There's still some side effects to it, but now it's kind of cool to be a cyborg and you're wearing your scars and you're kind of proud of the levels your character went through to get to where they are. Another system is Outward Bound, where when you die there's many things that can happen. You can wake up in some prison. You can wake up in the inn with less money because, they took it as a fee for dragging you there and putting you in a nice bed. You can have a mysterious friend who dragged you and put you next to a campfire and let you rest. There is many different scenarios that can happen from your fake death, right? These are the most interesting to me because no one wants to lose their character. The obvious thing is game over. Okay, load up the last save. But you're not really getting that sense of, something bad can really happen here. I don't want to run head first and just keep eating and chugging potions and then, make it out. And if I don't, I'll just reload it. This one, you can't really save. You have to go in there and you take your chances and, hey, nothing too bad may happen, or hell, maybe you lose a limb. Or since we're talking space battles, we can do like X4 where your ship blows up, but you get ejected out. So now you have to call in reserve maybe one of those ships you've stolen to come get you, or you call a taxi service and you have to spend money, or you hang out there and then it's a little bit of Outward Bound where you wake up and you're in a hospital and you have to pay a fee. Someone dragged you out of there. My point is that there's any number of really fun ways we can play this. We don't have to do the Nemesis system because, Warner Brothers decided no good game should be able to use this system anymore. And from the direct, I think we already saw in Starfield where you can damage and then board. So that is already a version of, soft death where the ship doesn't necessarily blow up. Now the same should be with you. If they disable your ship, well, they want to rob you. Get your gun out and defend yourself. These are all ways that I think makes a game so much more dynamic and interesting. Because if you can avoid the consequences, you will do your best. Maybe if food really helps you from losing a limb before combat, well, maybe you start cooking more. These are the things that Bethesda, I think, just, hey, modders figure it out because their solutions tend to be making people bullet sponges. And to me, that's just not creative. It doesn't do anything other than waste ammo. And it doesn't really inspire any fear because you can still just reload, right? And taking away fast travel, well, that's another thing. We're not talking about hardcore mode. We're talking about survival. Sure, you can travel to these places. That's not a problem. But there's going to be consequences when you fall. That's where I think the difference between, that hardcore or survival. Survival could be easy. It's just talking about certain systems that are in place that you have to keep track of, keep your eye on. Hardcore is, it can have a lot of the same functions, but they're usually turned up to 2000. So I hope I didn't ramble too much. I just wanted to throw out some ideas for survival because I already know that will be my number one mod download. That's just the number one thing I'm looking forward to because it really does make a Bethesda game shine, in my humble opinion. I'm looking forward to talking to the creator Frost and the development team. So keep an eye out for that interview. And of course, if there's anybody you want to see or any ideas for future mod authors you want me to talk to, go ahead and write it down below. I read every comment and I love hearing what you guys have to say. Oh, and please come and join the Discord. It's a lovely gathering of people, and I would love to have you guys there as well. I am looking forward to this Sunday playing Frost and getting my ass handed to me because it's going to happen. I've been told many times that I need at least to have like a save mod because otherwise it's just going to be me reloading consistently. So that may be the one mod I download on top of Frost. We'll see how it plays out. I don't want you guys to watch me crying that bad. So anyway, it should be a good time. And as always, stay safe out there and mod reckless.